Hi, my name is Jamie Carr, and my subject is applied sports psychology. My interest in sports psychology stems from my current job. I work for the San Jose Sharks in-game entertainment, and my boss, who produces everything that you see inside a Sharks game, besides playing on the ice, he actually majored in sports psychology. So I was interested in how sports psychology works. So my job, the way that we're using psychology, is that we have things called SAP player profiles. A player profile is where we pick a player and it shows them all. It's their highlight reel. It shows their stats, them scoring goals, them doing great, amazing things, and it's a visual reminder to them that they are capable of scoring goals. They are capable of doing tasks that maybe they are kind of forgetting. They're down on themselves. We tend to pick players who are in a slump to help them out of the slump. An example of this is Mikhail Bodker. We used him just recently, earlier in the year. He hadn't been scoring. He's new to the team. He was kind of struggling. So he was our player profile. In that very same game, he stopped struggling and he was able to get an assist. Below, I attached a YouTube video, and it is a Brent Burns player profile to give you an example of what a player profile is. So, sports psychologists, they use self-efficacy to help improve athletes' level of play. They also focus on performance enhancement and mental health of athletes. They don't, they're not physical game coaches, they're mental game coaches. They help with mentally preparing and mentally being in the game. So sports psychologists study psychology. They get their degree in psychology with an emphasis in kinesiology. And interestingly enough, to work for a sports team as a head coach, they call them mind coaches. You don't necessarily have to have a degree in psychology, but many of them do. It's just different labeling. If you have your degree, you're applied sports psychologist. If you don't, you're considered a mind coach. So, Yogi Berra once said 90% of the game is mental, the other half is physical. So, the 90% game is mental. What is it? Superstitions. They're half of the game. Athletes are one of the most superstitious people you can ever meet. Goalies have to sit in a certain spot playing. They have to have their own hotel room. They'll, sit by themselves at breakfast. They don't interact with other people. There's so many more, well-known superstitions, but it can have a negative effect on the game, on the mind of the athlete, because it can cause stress and anxiety if superstition isn't present. So let's say an athlete is superstitious, they scored 3 goals, and they have a lucky sock. Somehow they left the lucky sock in their last hotel room, and they weren't able to wear it pre-game. They're so focused on not having that lucky sock that they don't mentally prepare. They can't move past it there. They just mentally throw themselves out of the game before it ever starts. Superstitions can have a positive impact on the game. It can become routine that can help a player mentally prepare for the game. Example is Ryan Vogelsong, Rally Enchiladas. He had the superstition that he pitched better when he ate a chicken enchilada before a game. He was very superstitious about his enchiladas. It kind of almost became a ritual for him. And a lot of superstitions can lose effect on the mind once it doesn't work. So once rally sock no longer helps you score goals, then that superstition does not work. Rituals, they're like superstitions, but they're more, you do them every game. Once, it's not whether they work or they don't work. It is your routine to prepare for the game. So, You do it all the time, not just when things are going well or bad. And what will recent performance? An example of a ritual is Jonathan Quick. Every time before a game, he'll go out and sit in the stands and visually, mentally go through saving goals. He'll have his glove on and just be meditating with his glove. I witnessed this. We were preparing for the game one night by practicing slingshotting t-shirts into the stands, and he was in the stands trying to mentally prepare. We were so distracting that we probably missed with his ritual. That night he actually had a really big game, so in essence we could have helped, throw him off of his game, throw him off of his practices, his mental preparedness for the game. Home field advantage. This really interested me because I've always been interested in how home field advantage works. What aspects of home field advantage really give players or teams that advantage. So home field advantage is when a team plays better at home than on the road. And studies show that testosterone increase before the game when they're playing at home. This is due to the need to protect one's territory. Men are very territorial. They want to win. They don't want to disappoint their fans. So their testosterone increases before games. They're very excited. They're ready to go. Cheering on the fans increase self-esteem. When you score a goal and it's dead silent and people are booing you, it really takes away from the excitement of your goal. But when you score a goal and 20,000 fans are screaming and cheering with you, it really boosts your self-esteem, your self-confidence. I found it very interesting that referees unconsciously make calls in favor of the home team. So when you have fans that are constantly booing referees when they make calls against you, it can influence that the next call goes more towards you. Referees, like normal people, don't like getting booed. They don't like being looked negative upon. Even though it's their job, subconsciously, they make that mistake. And then the third part and last part is mental disorders in sports. There's a big stigma towards mental disorders, especially in sports. Athletes are known to be these extreme physical athletes who, can handle the mental part of the game because they're at the highest level. They've made it. We see so many times athletes who were supposed to be something in college, or athletes who, went into the league and were great. Barry Zito, for example, came into the league, Cy Young Award winner, signed a huge contract, with so much was expected of him, and he fell apart. Anxiety gets to people. He dealt with it by meditation. He was able to come back from it a little bit, but he had already suffered enough from it. Anxiety is the most diagnosed disorder among professional athletes, which is no surprise because it's a high stress environment. They're constantly having to perform. They're constantly on the road. They're never in an environment for a very long time. Half the season they're away from their families. This can lead to depression. Depression can be used to overexerting oneself during the course of a season. There's baseball, 162 games. They play almost every day. Hockey, they play almost, basketball, they play almost every other day. It takes a toll on the mental and physical, aspects of the body. So that does not surprise me. Anorexia nervosa, it's very present in female athletes. There's a constant need to be skinny. The skinnier you are, the better performance, especially for women's sports like gymnastics. Great example of this is Make It or Break It, TV show on ABC Family a few years ago that focused on elite gymnastics. They were trying to make the Olympic team. One of the girls, Gabby, I'm sorry, one of the girls, she became national champion. She was thrown into the spotlight. She ended up suffering from anorexia because she felt the need to be really small and be, so she compete with other athletes from other countries and win gold. Women, even professional athletes, still have to face, body shaming and the ideal body and have this obsessive need to fit that stereotype. Constantly training, and they too suffer from anorexia nervosa. Overall, I think sports psychology can help the mental game of professional athletes, and I think in the future it'll have a bigger impact on professional